Hi guys, going over nutrition today. It's Mrs. Bowles, and I started with some of you on this already, but join in wherever it is you need to be on your notes. So nutrition is the study of how your body uses food that you eat. And we went over the nutrients in class, any chemical substances that we need for our body processes. Those are considered nutrients. We talked about the 6 different nutrients in class, and those are vitamins, minerals, water, proteins, carbs, and also fats. Now here I've listed that carbohydrates take on 3 different conditions, because sometimes people don't realize that starches are also carbohydrates as well as cellulose. I made a note here that the ones in red, those are the ones that actually have calories. As far as calories go in your body, you should pay attention to the fact that fats yield more calories as far as energy goes. But remember, that can also be packed on as stored fat if you don't use them or don't burn as many calories as you take in. A few things in here that talk a little bit about what nutrients are for. They're going to be needed to burn energy. That's our metabolism. So typically that'll be the carbs, the proteins, and the fats that do that. The vitamins and the minerals are for providing the necessary increments for reactions that take place in our body. And water is everywhere, so it's necessary for transport, for cooling all those reactions, and also lubricating all of our organs as they move around and function in our body. We talked a little bit in class about how different people have different nutrient needs. It's going to be determined by the age of the person, whether it's a male or female. Males typically need 800 to 1,000 more calories a day than a female of the same size. How active you are, the more active you are, the more calories you're going to need to consume. Your climate, believe it or not, if you live in a colder place, you're going to need to consume more calories to keep you warm, because your body will burn those for fuel. And the state of your health. Now, the U.S. dietary guidelines, they say that people should always aim for a healthy weight in order to be fit, that they should be physically active every day. The food pyramid, or food structures that talk about which things you should have more of in your diet and which you should have less of, should be your guide. Choosing a variety of items, whole foods. Make sure you get fruits and veggies, and keep your food safe. When you choose your diet, try to choose a low saturated fat diet. Beverages should be limited in terms of sugary beverages. Water should be the norm. We often consume a lot of our calories in our beverages. Don't forget to use less salt in your cooking. And if you drink alcoholic beverages when you're old enough to do so in moderation and not overindulgent. Students have been asking, well, what are calories? There's so much talk about them. Well, in chemistry, we talk about calories as well. Calories are just energy units, basically. It's the energy that you can use to do work with it. Convert that energy into something like cooking a pot of coffee or a light bulb lighting up. Food calories and calories in chemistry are not exactly the same, though. In chemistry, we say a calorie is the energy needed to raise 1 gram or 1 milliliter of water 1 degree. And that is little c. But when food calories are mentioned, it's usually a kilocalorie from chemistry. They made that simpler, I think, for the public in terms of food items. So your metabolism is all about chemical reactions that are needed for you to fuel your body and keep it going. We talked a little bit about that in our video already. Anything we don't use that we eat, our body will tend to store. And in the case of fat, that could be extra fat being added. Our muscles will burn our fat, leftover storage fat, and also leftover sugar. And muscle mass burns more fat than fatty mass in a body. Therefore, if a person has stronger muscles and they work out and they get their muscles as big as they actually can eat more. And something to be aware of, a lot of these come from information from trainers. If you go long periods without eating, your body actually hangs on to fat. So sometimes people think, well, if I wait and I don't eat till dinner every day, it's going to be a better strategy for dieting. It's actually not, because our body will hang on to that extra food because we kind of go into starvation mode. Okay, we kind of go into starvation mode. So keep in mind that a pound of each of these items, of those, muscle mass burns the most calories in terms of fueling it. So the more muscle you have in your body, the more you'll use the energy that comes in. A couple of these are training tips for people that are athletes. I got a lot of these from Coach Brew, who helps to train our sports teams here at Roosevelt. He talked about using a drink prior to or right after, within 30 minutes of your workout, water or chocolate milk. And he talked about using or packing tuna and peanut butter and jelly sandwiches so that you have more of a protein in your lunch. He also uses what we call the 50-25-25 rule, which means that you should be careful about how much protein you take in, and based on the amount that you weigh is how much protein that you're going to need. So for every pound that you weigh, you should take in 1 gram of protein a day. And your meal should look more like this, with lots of veggies and fruits. Your plate actually should have more protein on it and less carbs on it, according to Coach Brew. He also says if you eat smaller meals more often, your body will metabolize more. That'll boost your metabolism. Cold water makes you use a few more calories when you're processing it. Lean proteins are better for you. And green tea is supposed to help boost your metabolism as well if you're looking to lose weight. How much should you actually take in? If you find yourself on the list here, I mean, you guys are teens, so for a female that is moderately active, this is how much you're supposed to take in on an average day. So if you're tracking your calories and you're noticing that you're putting in a lot more than that, then that's more than you would need, and your body would store that away as excess in the form of fat. For males, about your age, moderately active, notice that males can consume, typically, it'll end up being 6 to 8, even 1,000 calories more a day than a female of the same size. Now, your calories are going to matter a lot depending on what you do. Think of some very highly trained athletes that have a lot of output in terms of energy, and what they might eat compared to an average person. It's a big difference. Coach Brew, again, talks about protein. He says after you work out, you need to build your muscles back up. He talks about foods that are good to eat in terms of protein, and some of those are listed here. People are always asking about how much protein. It should be approximately 30 to 40% of your diet, equal to your body weight in grams. So if you look at this right here. But space it out, because your body doesn't store it. So what happens if you eat excess protein is it basically ends up in your feces, and you have a very high protein or caloric amount of feces. As it's passing through, it can only take so much. Your body can only take so much. Fats, of course, are really good for us. We definitely need to take in those necessary fats that we cannot make, like the omega-3s. Okay. Fats, again, remember, they give 9 calories of energy per gram. So we should keep a low number, but we also need to get enough of the right amount of fats. They're important to lubricate and cushion our bodies. Coach Brew says for the athletes, certain things are not to be consumed. Too much of them will cause cramping or fatigue. Vitamins and minerals are really important. You need to make sure that you have those. And if you eat fruits and vegetables, normally you will get a good dose of minerals and vitamins, or you can take a supplement. Water is really important before and after meals. If you add a little lemon or lime, it might help you flavor the water a little bit. Some people don't like the taste of water, and that might improve it. Fruits and vegetables are also full of water. It's not good to drink very much soda and fruit juice, energy drinks. These things have a lot of extra sugar in them. And what they say is if you consume a soda or a fruit drink, you should also then next consume water so that you alternate if you're going to drink these, because you will dehydrate yourself with too many sugary or caffeinated drinks. 8 glasses of water a day is what you're supposed to do. Coach Brew says to choose more of the lean meats and the less fatty items, or the good fats, and choose less of the items that are higher in fat and not so much good energy items. If you're wanting to track yourself, you can always get one of the apps. There's a lot of different health apps now, things like MyFitnessPal, where you can log and even scan the items that you're eating. And a lot of our phones have a health tracker that we can use. So those are good ways to keep track and see if you're meeting your calorie count or maybe you're exceeding your calorie count. That way, when you look it up and you match it what you're eating, you can see if you're following your daily recommended dosages. Label reading is important. Remember, you need to get a certain amount of calories from each different component. So when you're looking at labels, you can check and see how much fat is involved and whether or not the item is high in saturated or unsaturated fat. The trans and the saturated fats are not as good for you. Okay? You can also see what vitamins items have. There's lots of diets that are talked about often, and I wanted to make sure that you guys knew what they meant. So lacto or ovo-vegetarians are different. A lacto-ovo-vegetarian, they actually eat both dairy and eggs, so the name says what they eat. Lacto is the milk, dairy, and ovo is eggs. A lacto-vegetarian only eats dairy products, but they avoid eggs. An ovo-vegetarian, of course, only eggs. And a vegan is a specialized diet where the person does not eat dairy products, eggs, or any other products from animals. I also want you to understand what gluten-free means. There's a lot of conversation about that now. A lot of products are labeled gluten-free. That just means they don't eat wheat products. Gluten is a component of wheat. And if you want to look into it, you can check out this TED-Ed video. There's a really good TED-Ed video when you search up gluten-free that describes what celiac disease is, what gluten intolerance is, and why we're seeing a lot of that now. What about paleo? You hear a lot about this diet as well. A paleo or Paleolithic diet is typically based on what might have been eaten back when we were Stone Age people, is what this diet talks about. So basically they focus on what you can hunt or gather, including lean vegetables and fruits and nuts. The rationale here is listed. They basically think that because we started eating things differently as farming came in, that there's a mismatch in terms of our own adaptability, which means and contributes to higher rates of obesity and diabetes. Keto. Keto is something new. I added some slides in here for the newer ones. Things like the Atkins diet or low-carb diets, these focus on getting their calories from protein and fat and not carbs. So they eat very low amount of carbs. And the rationale behind that is that your body will eventually run out of fuel and your blood sugar, and you won't have that high energy compounds, those quick energy compounds, the carbs, and then you'll begin to break down other things in your body like fat storage and protein storage, which can make you lose weight, and that is actually called ketosis. And that's all I have for you guys today. And thanks for joining me for nutrition.